What's up, guys? I'm JJ.
I'm Angel.
And this is PM Football. Well, both of our seasons are over. Mm-hmm. So, the only way to get over that and to cure our sadness is to do what we love the most, and it's talk about the draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how you are, but when I was a kid, the only reason that I loved the draft so much is because my team always sucked.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows I'm a Washington fan. We kind of were in a 20 to 30 year drought. So, yeah, you could say my teams weren't good growing up.
Yeah. So, the whole reason we started this YouTube channel was to talk about the draft. We didn't really have too much of a time to do that throughout the season because we wanted to talk about our teams. Mm-hmm. But we both have 10 years plus of combined experience of working in college football, in personnel, recruiting, scouting, name it. In the personnel department, we've worked in it.
Yeah.
So we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're very comfortable in this alley when it comes to football. Like you said, the draft is like Christmas to us. It's our favorite part of the NFL, you could say. And part of the reason why we even went into football because we love the scouting, the looking for talent and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, we met at ODU looking at players, scouting players. Mm-hmm. You ended up going to Texas, helped them win a Big 12 title.
We won a Big 12 title. First time in school history we went to a college football playoff. Like, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but like we've been around the block.
You've earned that right to say what you've accomplished working for them. We'd even bring up while we were at ODU, we brought in the highest rated recruiting class in school history.
Signed the highest rated recruit in school history.
And then followed that up with the second highest recruiting class in school history.
Yeah.
I ended up going to Navy for a year, loved my time there, ended up helping out bring in a recruiting class to bring the CIC championship back to Annapolis, where it belongs. So like you said, we've
been around the block.
We've been around the block. We know
what talent looks like.
We know what talent looks like more than your average person online saying they know what to do when
Rushmo.
Excuse me, I just farted. Apologize. But yeah, we at least have some expertise in knowing what a good player looks like, what they don't look like.
Yeah. We're not trying to call anybody out. Like, that's not the purpose behind this video. But, like, we just know more. I'm sorry. Like, we have more experience working in it live than a lot of people on YouTube that do the same type of content have had.
Absolutely.
So, without further ado, we're going to dive in to our first mock draft of the 2025 season.
Yes.
With that being said, or before we get into it real quick, I'm doing even numbers. Mm-hmm. You're doing the odd numbers.
Yep.
So, with that being said, the Tennessee Titans are officially on the clock at number 1 overall.
I'm excited for when Goodell says that in real life. But let's stay in the now. The Tennessee Titans have the first overall pick. The GM came out last week and said they're looking. You said the quote better than me. What do you say?
The Tennessee Titans said that they are looking to draft a generational talent.
Yeah, that they wouldn't pass up. That they wouldn't pass up on generational talent if it's there. I think he was kind of hinting at Travis Hunter there just because everyone's saying he's the generational talent, which I'm not necessarily disagreeing with, but you really need a quarterback. You cannot roll Will Levis out there for another year. You desperately need your franchise quarterback. With that being said, with the first overall pick, the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. Yes. Congratulations, Cam.
Moving on to pick number 2. The Cleveland Browns had a very disappointing season. Very big question mark at the quarterback position. They've got a lot of other needs. I want to take a home run swing here, but for this first mock draft, I'm going to do with what I think they're going to do, not what I would do.
Okay.
And I think they're going to lean in the position of taking the best player in the draft, the best player in the draft. Wait for a couple videos down the road. We're going to dive deep into our breakdowns of some of these players. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I'm going to have the Cleveland Browns selecting Travis Hunter.
Okay. That leads to the New York Giants with the 3rd overall pick. If I'm the Giants, I'm feeling pretty happy because they as well desperately need a franchise quarterback. I mean, there's no surprise where I'm going here. The New York Giants will be selecting Shador Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado.
Yeah, if I can find him on this list. What number was he?
I'm literally just typing in the name.
That's smarter.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. All right. Anyway, we
can
know it's
edit that.
Shador.
We're
We know
good.
it's
Yeah.
Shador. Patriots are on the clock at 4. They've got their franchise guy.
Yeah.
This is the best position the Patriots have been since they've had Tom Brady. You just got to help shore up that offensive line, and I think it's a very simple pick. It's not the splashiest pick. Debatable about who the top offensive lineman in this class is right now, but I think the safest pick out of any of the offensive linemen in this class right now is Will Campbell. Will Campbell can maneuver around the offensive line. He can play tackle. A lot of people think he'll be an elite guard at the next level, although I will say I think he can very much so survive outside there on the tackle position. So I think you just get an all-around great offensive lineman with your pick and help protect the future of your franchise.
All right. On to the 5th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Can I first off by saying, this new head coach in Jacksonville, never in my life have I seen such unseasoned chicken, mayo-loving, Taylor Swift following man just all balled into one.
Duval.
I don't say this a lot, but like, I kind of hope he doesn't succeed.
That's
just
insane.
Just him talking pisses me off.
That's insane.
It, like,
You're getting off on the wrong
I am-
hand with Jaguars fans.
It's fine. The 20 Jaguar fans that exist.
Jaguar
will forgive
fans, if
me.
you're watching this video, tell him he's wrong.
They're not.
And tell us who you want them to draft before he tells you. Because, I mean, obviously, you're not going to like his pick after what he just said about your
Jacksonville
head
doesn't
coach.
have fans. You don't got to worry about that.
Okay.
Either way, back on topic. Jacksonville Jaguars, 5th overall. I really want to go Abdul Carter because I'm a huge Abdul Carter fan, but they don't really need an edge. They have Hines Allen. They have Trevon Walker. They're in desperate need of DBs.
Yeah.
And my favorite DB that's available right now and by corner 1 overall is Will Johnson. So with the 5th overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars will be selecting Will Johnson, corner out of Michigan.
I'm on to number 6 with the Raiders. The Raiders are in a weird spot in this draft
They are.
because they were bad. They were really bad this year.
Yeah.
But they weren't bad enough to secure one of the top 2 quarterbacks. And we're not saying that a trade couldn't happen. This is our first mock draft of the season. We can't get too far ahead of
Yeah.
ourselves here. So we're just going to keep the picks where they're at. The Raiders can go in almost any direction because of the roster that they currently have. They don't have a single stud outside of Brock Bowers and Max Crosby. Legitimately, like, can you name another really good player on that team?
No, I can't.
That's like there's no one there.
They have a lot of needs.
They have a lot of needs, and I think if I'm them, without the quarterbacks being there, I'm personally, I'm taking the best player in the draft, and I hope that with Tom Brady there to help them now, they can kind of see the vision of just we need to draft talent. We need to draft talent. Get the best people we can in the building. And to me, the best player on the board is Abdul Carter.
Okay.
So I will be taking Abdul Carter. Kind of a head scratcher because they already have Max Crosby, but if you can pair him up with Max Crosby, because Malcolm Kuntz is a free agent, there's no certainty that he's going to re-sign with you guys. He was a very productive player. I think you get a guy that's even better than Malcolm Kuntz, significantly better. That defense could become a monster with those 2 rushing the passer.
All right. Yeah, like I said, literally the pick before this, I'm a big fan of Abdul Carter, so I like that pick. Jets, I feel like they're kind of in the same situation as the Raiders, where they were awful, just so many needs, and yet they weren't bad enough to get one of the top 2 QBs. There's a lot of ways they could go here. I think one of their biggest needs is that offensive line. We thought the offensive line would have been better this past season, and it simply wasn't. I know they just drafted Fatanu with their first-round pick last year. He's young. I don't want to give up on him, but let's just say it was a underwhelming rookie year. I think if I were them, I would go with best offensive lineman available, and I'm a fan of this guy. With the 7th overall pick, the Jets select Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas.
Yes. I really like that pick. Again, I was at Texas, so
Yeah, you got to see him firsthand how
Stud.
he operates every day. Absolutely.
legit stud.
Absolutely.
I would be terrified if the Jets could get their hands on a player like that. We're moving on to number 8 with the Panthers. The Panthers kind of overperformed to end the season, so they kind of screwed themselves out of a good pick.
Did they screw themselves out? Yes, but at the same time, as a Panthers fan, you have to feel a lot better about Bryce Young and where he's at, and even where your head coach is at in that relationship there.
Yeah. The Panthers, to me, need to get an elite pass rusher, and I'm not saying this guy's an elite pass rusher by any means, but he has the traits to become an elite pass rusher. I'm going Mykel Williams out of Georgia, edge rusher. I think Mykel has crazy athleticism. He's going to tear up the combine, and he's going to be a really high riser. I think potentially people are talking about him as the best player in the draft just because of his athleticism, burst off the ball, just all-around speed. Like, he is a freak. Mm-hmm. He's a freak athlete.
Yeah.
And he's a really good football player on top of him being an athlete. So, with the mixture of all of that, you get a freak athlete that's good at football. That's about all you can ask for. And he's at a very high top dollar position.
Yeah.
You get a guy on a 5-year contract that's an elite edge rusher, that's a home run pick.
Yeah, I agree. Now the New Orleans Saints, they as well. I feel like the Saints have been in a tricky situation the last few years. I think Derek Carr is on his last leg. Like, if forget an entire season, he has like a month into the season to prove he can be a franchise quarterback. I think with that, you have to surround him with as much talent as you possibly can. I'm going to give them the number 1 receiver on my board with the 9th overall pick. The New Orleans Saints select T-Mac, receiver out of Arizona.
Yeah, no, he has freakish size.
Yeah, great size, pause. Love his catch radius. I love how he gets off the line. I think he has very clean route running, clean footwork. So I think there's a lot of upside there for sure.
Yeah. Now, number 10, we have the Chicago Bears. And I think a lot of people already know where I'm probably going with this. They need to shore up that offensive line. Again, we've talked about a bunch of teams already that need to shore up the offensive line. I think the Bears are at the top of the list of teams that need to get an offensive lineman to help protect their future. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I'm taking a guy that I think is the best interior offensive lineman in this entire class, and Tyler Booker. Yes. Alabama offensive
I really
guard.
like that.
I think this dude can come in and be a stud right away. He's a monster. I want to say he's somewhere between 6'5" and 6'6", like 330.
And he doesn't move like that.
No, he has
moves
great movement.
Very well.
Great movement, great hips. Rarely gets pushed backwards, which is what you need out of an offensive lineman.
He's explosive.
I'm taking Tyler Booker and just shore up that offensive line.
I really like that pick. I'm very big on Tyler Booker. I just saw him earlier this week, his film, and I was extremely impressed. I think that's a great pick. On to number 11, the San Francisco 49ers. They have a few things they could use, mainly on both sides of the trenches. To me, I think I would go best available when it comes to trenches. So with the 11th overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Mason Graham, defensive lineman out of Michigan.
Yeah, no, that's such a 49ers move. They get...
And it's good value.
I was going to say they get potentially one of the best players in the draft at 11.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of just falls into their lap.
Yeah.
Number 12, we got the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
If you've watched our YouTube videos at all throughout the season, you've heard...
First, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, first of all.
Yeah.
Secondly, I was one of the first people to say the Dallas Cowboys were going to suck this year.
You were. You did call that. Not only did you say they were suck, you said, like, there will be, like, 2 or 3 teams in the East that would be better than Dallas. So.
And that's exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah.
And it was because of one reason. They have no run game. Legit zero run game.
They were very one-dimensional offensively.
And they were super one-dimensional. They wanted CeeDee Lamb to be God. Like, that's literally what they had him doing. And then Dak Prescott gets hurt. That doesn't help. But it was because he was throwing the ball so much, and he got hurt. So I think the easiest thing to do for them is to take the best running back in this class. And for me, he's a top 5 player in this class, value-wise. Ashton Genty, this dude just broke almost every record in college football besides rushing yards.
Yeah.
Like, this dude is an absolute beast. Now, he was playing in the Mountain West, so we're going to have to see if this game translates.
But even against great talented teams, he was still doing his thing out there.
Just an absolute beast. And I think any Dallas fan would be very happy to have this guy on their team.
He was my vote for Heisman.
Me too.
Now, number 13, the Miami Dolphins. I don't think it's a secret. They have to address the offensive line. They absolutely have to. You have to protect Tua. I'm a huge fan of this guy. I saw him either earlier this week or last week. I love his game. I think he could potentially be an amazing tackle with great coaching. I'm going with Josh Connerly Jr., tackle out of Oregon. I think he has such high upside, such long arms. He moves great. He understands leveraging, great footwork. I think this guy has really high upside here.
If you haven't seen this guy play football yet, you're missing out. This dude is an absolute tank. Like, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's only 6'4", which we're saying 6'4" isn't that big, but he's
for offensive line that would be more on the smaller side, especially as a tackle.
Yes,
absolutely.
But absolute monster. Yeah, I love the pick. With the 14th pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Tyler Warren. Okay. I think Tyler Warren fits the offense of what the Colts are trying to do so much. They need another pass catcher, and I think you give, I'm not the biggest fan of Anthony Richardson. I'll sit here and say it. I'm not. But I think one of the things you can do to make it easier for him is to get an outlet for him. And why not get the best tight end in the draft with Tyler Warren and give him a best friend? Pittman is his best friend right now. But
I've said for a while, the Colts just don't have any exciting weapons other than Jonathan Taylor.
Tyler Warren can be a game changer. Like, that dude, if you've watched any of the college football playoff this year, he was the reason Penn State made it as far as they did outside of that run game. He was their only weapon in the pass game. He's not the greatest blocker. I really can equate him to a current day Greg Olsen. If Greg Olsen was still playing in today's game, Tyler Warren's pretty close to what he would be. And Tyler Warren's bigger than him, so I like your chances there, taking a guy like that.
No, I think you just gave the Colts a great weapon, a very useful weapon that Anthony Richardson could really use. Number 15, the Atlanta Falcons. Let's see if they surprise us this year. Kind of shocked everyone last year. Everyone last year said...
You're going to take another quarterback.
Everyone last year said they really needed an edge rusher, and they didn't choose one in the first round. I don't think they make that mistake this year, and if I were them, I wouldn't make that mistake. I'm choosing my highest available edge rusher, which is James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee for the Atlanta Falcons.
Good pick. Number 16, we got the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are in a lot of the same positions that of a lot of the teams I've just made picks for. They need offensive line help really bad. And the only problem is it's starting to dwindle. The farther down we get into this draft, the worse the offensive line talent gets. Now, if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, with the position they're in, I don't know if I necessarily go offensive line here because I'm so high on how good of a defensive line class this is. If I'm the Arizona Cardinals, I'm taking Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart is in the same boat to me as Michael Williams. He's an explosive pass rusher who's just going to blow the charts off at the combine. He has a great get-off, very disruptive in the run game, can rush the passer. He's just an explosive athlete. And I think in today's game of football, that's what you need on your defensive line. And I don't think they really have that right now. So Shamar Stewart is the pick for me for the Arizona Cardinals.
No, I definitely agree. I think edge rusher is definitely the biggest need for the Arizona Cardinals, so I don't hate that pick at all. Number 17, Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals fans, you are welcome. I am giving you the steal of the entire draft. Your defense was horrendous, and I'm about to give you the second best defender in the entire class And the guy that I was very high on before it was even popular to be high on this guy. I was raving about this guy a month or two ago, saying this guy is going to be an absolute game changer. And that's exactly what he's going to be. He's going to be a game changer. With his 17th overall pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. Jalen Walker is a freak. And I know I keep using the word freak, but like in football terms, freak is about as best of a thing you can be called.
My comparison to him, and if you call me crazy, you're just not watching the film. My comparison to him is Micah Parsons. He is someone you can move around. He could bend the edge. He gets to the quarterback. You could put him in coverage. He is the chess piece to that defense. And he will improve any defense in the entire league. Yeah. So Cincinnati, you are welcome. You just got the seal of the draft.
Yeah. No, great pick. With the 18th pick, the Seattle Seahawks need a lot of help on the offensive line. And I think they get a really good interior offensive lineman here with this pick. Donovan Jackson, Ohio State guard. He played a lot of positions this year. Josh Simmons, their left tackle, got hurt in the middle of the season, and he was asked to play left tackle. You could obviously tell he's not a tackle. He doesn't have the same mobility as a normal tackle. But he's a very agile and strong guard. And I think with the right situation, with the Seahawks, he can be a very strong player for them for a lot of years.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick at all. Number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To me, I would want to give them offensive weapons here. You're losing Chris Godwin to free agency, most likely. Mike Evans is getting up there in age. I would want to give Baker Mayfield another pass option. So with the 19th overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is selecting Emeka Egbuka, receiver out of Ohio State. He is the number 2 receiver on my board. I think he has great potential, great value, especially at 19. I think that's really good value. So.
Especially if they end up losing Chris Godwin.
I think they will. He's going to be a free agent. I don't see them re-signing a 30-year-old receiver coming off. Was it Achilles? ACL? It was something serious.
Bad, really bad.
So, yeah, I think you need another weapon for Baker. So, you can make a Egbuka. Very good pick, I think.
Yeah, I think so, too. With the 20th pick, the Denver Broncos are on the clock, and they need weapons. The Broncos need weapons. You took Emeka Egbuka right in front of me. He would have been in very high consideration if I was making that pick, but unfortunately, he's gone for me. So, I'm taking Colson Loveland. Very similarly to what I said about the Colts with Anthony Richardson, Bo Nix is significantly better than Anthony Richardson, and he's done it without a safety valve there at the tight end position. They've had Greg Dulcich and that's how bad the tight ends are. I don't even know their names. Greg Dulcich is the only one that's coming to mind, and I know he doesn't even play that much. Colson Loveland is a 6'7" route runner that Michigan was playing as an X receiver for half the season before he got hurt. I think he's just a difference maker on that offense and can take that offense to the next level. Look at what Sean Payton did with Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
Colson Loveland, to me, is the same prototype of a Jimmy Graham. Don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
But he's got the same height, he's got the same route running ability, and very strong hands. So they're going to use him as a Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I feel that.
I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, no, I think that's a solid pick. Number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers desperately need some weapons. Like, their receiver room might be one of the worst in the entire league. It's really bad. I'm giving them the number 3 receiver on my board, Luther Burden, the 3rd receiver out of Missouri. I think him and George Pickens could be a really good pairing for whoever the quarterback ends up being. So, there you go, Pittsburgh.
Yeah. With the 22nd pick, the Chargers are on the clock. And to me, they are in a position where they need to get offensive talent really badly. But because you just selected Luther Burden, I think there's a drop-off from Luther Burden to number 4.
I agree.
And that's more than likely going to be Matthew Golden. I was there at Texas when we brought in Matthew Golden through the transfer portal. Huge fan of Matthew Golden. Although I will say I don't know if I see him so much as a first-round pick as I do as a really good player. Like, I think he's really good, but not good enough to be first-round pick. So with that being said, I'm going to flip it, and we're going to attack the defensive side of the ball. They're going to lose Khalil Mack. Joey Bosa's old. Like, he wasn't as productive this year. Let's bring in a new face. We're going to go draft Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Nick Scorton can move around all on that line. He's a defensive end. I'm not saying he's Chris Jones, but in the way where he could play almost any position on that defensive line, he's Chris Jones. He can rush from the edge. He can rush from the interior. He can play nose tackle. He's just a very disruptive defensive lineman.
Yeah.
And I think that'll help the Chargers significantly on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Nick Scorton here.
All right, solid. 23rd overall pick, Green Bay Packers. I think they could really use some help on that offensive line. There's a guy that I'm a pretty big fan of. I think with the 23rd overall pick, I'm going to select Armand Membu, tackle out of Missouri. I don't see him as a tackle. I see him more as a guard. I don't think he's quite as fast and quick enough to be a tackle, but I love him in the run game. I love his physicality. He does tend to miss his target sometimes, but that's why you put him on the inside so he has help on both sides. But he has great footwork, long arms, can really stretch, understands leveraging. So I think this could be a great addition to the line in Green Bay.
Great pick. I've heard a lot of really good things about him. I haven't watched too much on him yet.
He's pretty solid. Again, like, if I would view him, when you watch him, look at him more as a guard. Like, he's a talented tackle, don't get me wrong, but I think he could be a lot more dangerous as a guard.
Yeah. All right, with the 24th pick, the Minnesota Vikings are on the clock. If you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, you've got to be very upset with how your season ended. You guys lost because your quarterback had no playoff experience, and that's as simple as it is. Now, if you have a quarterback that doesn't have playoff experience, you want to be able to run the ball, and they just weren't able to run the ball very effectively. So, with that being said, with the 24th pick, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking Omarion Hampton. I think Omarion Hampton is going to be a really, really, really good pro. He's got size as a running back. He can catch. He has great vision, great side to side. Like, he can just juke. He's just really good in open space, and he has great closeout speed. He can pull away. He can pull away from defenders when they're chasing after him. I think he's just an electric player, and in a Minnesota Vikings offense that has two really good receivers, a good tight end, if you add an elite running back to that group, the sky's the limit for that offense.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think that's solid. The 25th overall pick, the Houston Texans, are on the clock. I think they could really solidify themselves, not just as a defense, but as a team. If you drop a guy right in the middle of those trenches, get a nice solid D tackle there that could cause chaos. With that being said, with the 25th overall pick, I have the Houston Texans selecting Walter Nolan, D tackle out of Mississippi. This guy is very agile for his size. He's great at rip moves, can extend his arms, shed tackles. I think he adds a lot on that defensive line. So, Houston, there you go. You got Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss.
Really like that pick. Very physical player.
He is.
Explosive. Yeah. With the 26th pick, the LA Rams are on the clock. And I think a lot of people know they need corner. Like, the Rams do not have... Name one of their corners.
Tre'Davious White, right?
Tre'Davious White.
Tre'Davious White.
He was traded halfway through the season, and he's on the Ravens now.
Is he?
Yes.
There you go. No, Emmanuel Forbes.
Yep, that doesn't count.
He's a dog. What are you talking
But
about?
anyway, with that being said, the Rams need help at the cornerback position. And I think they can take a reach here because of how good their defense has looked already. Bring in Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. He's a very physical corner. He's good at man-to-man. You have two really good pass rushers that you drafted this past season with Fisk and Verse. You already have guys up front that are going to be able to disrupt the passer. You need a corner now that can lock down your number one receiver. Benjamin Morrison, to me, is that guy. He's a physical corner. And again, like I think he thrives in a man-to-man situation. Hopefully he can learn zone, unlike Kaiir Elam for the Bills. Like, I kind of view him in the same way somewhat to Kaiir because he is such a dominant man defender. I'm kind of nervous of how he will adapt to the zone coverages. But physical tools wise, he's 6'1" or 6'2". He's a solid 210 at most, or at least. He's just a built corner, and he's a very physical guy. I like the traits there to be able to develop him into a really good corner. So with that, I'm taking Benjamin Morrison with the Rams pick.
Yeah, no, I think that is really upside for a pick. Number 27, the Baltimore Ravens. A couple positions they could go here. They're a pretty solid team. Obviously, they're drafting this low. But there are some things they can improve, and one of them being edge rusher. I think they could really use a very good edge rusher on that defense. So with the 27th overall pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Mike Green, edge of Marshall. I saw that he had 17 and a half sacks this season alone.
Yeah. He follows me on Twitter.
Really?
Yep.
Pretty dope. Subtle flex, but dope. Yeah, no. I think he could really cause chaos, cause some havoc on that defensive line. I'm fumbling on the name of the D tackle they just signed last year to an extension.
Madubuike?
Yep. I know I'm going to fumble that name, so I'm not even going to try to say it. But I think that pairing could really cause some chaos against offensive linemen throughout the entire league. So I would be really excited for the Ravens if they made this choice.
Yeah. With the 28th pick, the Detroit Lions need defensive linemen. That's part of the reason why they got out as early as they did in the playoffs. They weren't able to stop the run, and that wasn't going to be a problem because you were playing the Commanders. But guess what? They were able to run the ball on you. You're keeping a guy home. You're taking Kenneth Grant here. Aleem McNeil got hurt late in the season. He probably won't be back in time for the start of the next season. So you're going to need another guy in there. Aiden Hutchinson should be back. And now you're going to pair him with his Michigan teammate. I don't know if they ever played together. But they have the Michigan connection. You're keeping him in Detroit just like you did with Aiden. He's a very disruptive run stopper, and not to say he's just a run stopper. He's a good pass rusher too. He shows great hands. He's very good at gaining leverage for being a taller guy. Like, I don't think people realize how hard it is to gain leverage being that tall already. He's just like 6'4", 6'5". You can't really get under the pad level being at 6'4", 6'5" already, and he shows a lot of times he's able to do that. Not to mention, he's really good at throw-bys and just has really good power. And I really like the fit here with the Lions with Kenneth Grant.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great value there. 29, my dear Washington. I mean, let's just keep it real. That roster isn't that amazing. The reason they got as far as they did in the first place is because Jaden Daniels isn't like your average quarterback. There's a few different ways we could go here. The defense isn't good enough. I just don't have a defensive player that I think is that's available right now that I think is worth taking in the first round, personally. That Washington needs, there's a couple players I'm thinking of, but I know good and well if Washington were to select one or two of those players, there would be a lot of question marks and a lot of sideways looks just because that's not necessarily a need. What is a need is more weapons for Jaden. With that being said, with the 29th overall pick, my Washington Commanders are selecting Matthew Golden, receiver out of Texas. Give Jaden some help. Let's make sure Terry isn't being double, triple teamed every single snap. Matthew Golden to Washington.
Moving on to number 30 is my team, the Buffalo Bills. We need a dominant pass rusher. But the only problem is we're good enough every year where we end up with the 30th pick and we don't have the ability to get that type of a player. But luckily for us, in this mock draft, somehow, I have no idea he's still on the board right here, but Malachi Starks is just sitting here.
I just said...
And I'm not necessarily going to say we need safety that bad, but I don't care. Like, Malachi Starks is that good. He might be a top 10 player in this.
I was about to say, I know I said Jalen Walker was still at the draft. That could quite easily be first, if not an extremely close second. It is interesting. I think it's just a huge part of why he falls and why you see a lot of high-quality safeties fall like I'm going to fumble on his first name, but Branch.
Oh, Brian Branch?
Brian Branch, thank you. Remember, he
Kyle
was even the
Hamilton,
first
too.
round. Exactly. It's just
Kyle Hamilton realistically should have been the first pick in that draft.
it's all just positional need. That's really what it comes down to. So that's why you get a very talented safety like a Malachi Starks to fall that far.
Yeah, and I'm taking that chance on getting an
I don't
elite
blame you. Yeah.
defensive
I
player.
really wanted. Honestly, I said there's a couple players available on defense that Washington could get, but like, if Washington were to spend a first round pick on a safety, like, with the amount of other needs that the team has,
Well, with our team being the defense is the thing that lets us down most of the time, I'm getting the best defensive player on the board, if not one of the top 5 best defensive players in the entire draft.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm taking a chance on that guy.
I feel
This
you on
isn't
that, man.
staged. I didn't say, hey, let Malachi Starks fall to
No,
us.
not at all.
It just happened to go that way, and the Bills pounced at the opportunity to get a guy like that on their team. Or at least I would hope they would.
Philly, number 31. Still a little.
Don't make a bad pick for him.
I'm not. I'm gonna be fair. I may still be a little salty here about certain things, but I'm gonna give y'all a solid pick. There's not a lot of weaknesses that Philly has.
it's hard to
It's
find
gonna
one.
be really hard to choose. I feel like no matter what I choose, there could be someone saying, "Oh, they don't need that. You could have chose him over there." Here's the thing: when you're that good of a team, like,
That's a good problem to have.
yeah, you just add star power. I think they could use a true not wide receiver, a true corner too. I feel like that would be solid. You have DeJean, who's kind of a hybrid of a safety slot corner kind of thing. I think you could use a solid corner too. That being said, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jahdae Barron, corner out of Texas.
Amazing pick. Jahdae Barron.
Sorry, Jahdae.
No,
I
it's
apologize.
okay. It's close enough. Jahdae Barron. I think Daniel Jeremiah said he has him as his corner 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to
Okay.
be quote. If somebody has Jahdae Barron as their corner 1, and I want to say it was Daniel Jeremiah. So if it's not, don't fry me for it. But somebody had him as his corner 1.
Yeah.
Jahdae. The only thing is I think he's a slot corner, and that's what he
Okay.
played a lot at Texas. That's what he played at Texas. I'm not saying you can't have a guy like Mike Sanders still who played slot.
I was about to say, the thing is, you already have Quinion there, you have DeJean there, so it's not like they're going to be expecting too much out of him. It's literally, here's your assignment, can you execute that assignment? Because everyone else on that defense, you don't have to worry about. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, like you said, this is like a luxury pick because
Yeah.
they don't have too many holes.
there's really not a
So-
lot of holes, yeah.
You take a really good defensive back, and that's really good in this league to have multiple really good ones. And that's
Absolutely.
at that point they would have multiple really good ones.
Yeah.
And with the final pick in the draft, we're not saying this is the final pick in the draft. This is just projection.
What they're giving us. Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs get a steal here, and they end up with Josh Simmons. Of course, they end up with a steal because the Chiefs always end up with a steal. Josh Simmons, to me, is one of the best offensive tackles in this class. He got hurt halfway through the season last year, and Donovan Jackson had to play left tackle for them. When Donovan Jackson was in the game at left tackle, their games dropped significantly. Josh Simmons is going to be a very, very good tackle in this game, or in this league. He's 6'5", 315. He looks like the prototypical left tackle. Great movement, good hands, good hips. Doesn't get beat on the edge. Like, he has a very good kick step, can get out and meet really fast edge rushers at the point of attack, and doesn't give up very many sacks. I really like Josh Simmons a lot, and it's sad for me to say that he is drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs because he will protect Patrick Mahomes
For
forever.
however long until Satan says so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was our first ever NFL mock draft. Yeah, how'd you think it went?
I think it went pretty well.
I think for our first time, it went well. Obviously, the more we do this, the better we'll get at it. But for coming in, I don't want to say blind, because obviously we watched the plays, but like coming in not knowing what each other were going to pick, really, not really knowing each other's opinions on a lot of these guys, I think it went well for what the circumstances were. For
Yeah.
sure.
I think in the future, these videos will be a lot better.
Yeah,
But-
there's a lot of technical difficulties going
Yeah.
on, so we apologize.
His computer
for
almost exploded.
that. Yeah. trying to
Not
get
not gonna take a shot at anybody, but PFF's draft board is not the greatest.
Not only that, it's hard trying to hear what the other person's saying and like
Trying to figure out what
trying to look at your own board
Yeah.
and then try to look at what's available and then like
Should we have done the draft before we filmed the video? Probably.
in hindsight, yes, probably.
But we wanted to make live reactions.
Yeah,
to
we
what
wanted
we were gonna do.
authentic reactions for sure.
So if it seemed a little off, that's why.
yeah, but
But I think it still went pretty well.
I dare
Let
you
us-
to make a better one.
Yeah.
First off, like
Yeah.
with the partner, like not by yourself.
When this happens, come back and say what's up.
Yeah.
But with that being said, like, let us know what you think about your team's pick that we made for him.
Yeah.
Who would you have picked?
Yeah, let us know what you agree with, what you disagree with. And like I always say, if you disagree, just know you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
I hope you guys are ready for the draft content we're about to put out.
Yes.
We're gonna have mock drafts, if not every week, every couple weeks. We're gonna put out videos about our top players at each position.
Can you speak English?
No, we're gonna.
I think what he's trying to say
we're
is
gonna put out top 10 position play. No, you take it away. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. What are we doing?
Bottom line is, it's the off season. We are huge fans of not just the draft itself, but the off season in general. It's when you get new toys, you get to mess around with the new toys. It's just a very exciting time. Do we have a ghost?
Did that just open by itself?
This is chaos.
I don't even know if you can see it because the mic's in the way, but this just opened by itself.
All right then. Yeah,
We don't have
We're-
it. No one's trapped.
we're
in there. We
excited
promise.
for the content coming out because we're huge fans of not only the draft but the off season.
Yes.
So I'm excited to see where this goes and let us know what you would want to see regarding the off season.
Yeah. One of the main videos that we really think are going to be really good in here, and you guys can let us know if you would like to see a video like this, is we want to take every NFL team and tell you how we would rebuild them into a winning team for bad teams and for good teams to keep them a contender.
Yeah.
I think we feel like that would be pretty good content.
Yeah, because I feel like that's something, I would watch someone doing that with Washington.
Yeah.
And like that's what we're trying to target. Like whatever team you're a fan of, you want more content of that team. So we're trying to provide it.
And
it's as simple as that.
let's put this out there right now. If you leave a comment for your team in the comments and that team gets the most likes, that's the team we'll do first.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea for sure.
If we have that many fans of a certain team in the comments,
I know it ain't gonna be Jacksonville, that's for sure.
why are you hating on Jacksonville?
I'm just simply saying it's not a big fan base. That's all I'm saying. And can I say I don't even blame them for not being fans. What has
What have
the
they done
team
for you?
given
Yeah.
them to be fans? So it's not like I'm ripping on the fans itself. They just made one of the worst coaching decisions
I don't know.
of the year.
I like Liam Cohen. He's a weird guy. You know who else was a weird guy? Gannon.
Negative aura. Who was?
Gannon was weird. And he's turned the Cardinals into a
Well-
solid team.
well,
they were the
they-
laughing
they-
stock of the league for a while.
I will say, they are on the right direction. They're on the right path. And let's not act like they've really done much. He hasn't made a playoff game yet. with
Yeah,
them this
and
next
I mean, we
year.
don't want to get too in depth of talking about this stuff. We're trying to end the video here.
Yeah.
But hopefully Liam Cohen works out for Jacksonville's sake.
I don't want it to.
Okay.
World's greatest hater. What can I say? Follow us on TikTok. Happy that's back at PM Football Podcast. Follow us on Twitter as well at PM Football Podcast. Like, subscribe, share the video. Wherever you may be. I just saw an analytic thing. Only 55% of our viewers are in the United States.
Oh, wow.
We're huge in Guam. We are. I saw the analytics.
Really?
At least on TikTok,
We
we're
love you,
huge in
Guam.
Guam. Shout out Guam.
We love you, Guam.
We'll visit one day. Probably not, but we'll see. I don't know what's in
We'll
Guam.
live stream the draft there. No, we won't.
Why
No, we won't.
If one
Don't-
person comments live stream in Guam, we'll live stream in Guam. This is dumb. What are we doing?
I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. Come here next week where we will be in Guam. Thank you.
See ya.